Thank you for calling Do-It-Yourself Tech Support. My name is John. How may I assist you today?
Hi, yes, I am trying to set up an SCP Miner that is a do-it-yourself model, and I can't figure out how to do that.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on?
Why would restarting it have any assistance? I already have it plugged in. I just need to do the settings.
Well, unfortunately, most tech support companies are just people reading scripts on a computer and can't really help you. Let me get you a supervisor. Hello, this is Dan with Do-It-Yourself Tech Support, supervisor number 11269. How can I assist?
Hi, yeah, John, Dan, whatever. I am trying to set up an SCP do-it-yourself miner, and I just need the settings.
Well, have you tried turning it off and back on again?
I just need the settings, bro.
No, unfortunately, I can't really assist on my end. The only thing I'd recommend is checking out Nerdy Dude Stuff Do-It-Yourself SCP Miner video on the YouTubes. All right, sir, you have a great day.
Nerdy Dude Stuff.
For those of you keeping track at home, today's Beer of the Day is brought to you by O'Fallon Brewery out of Merlin Heights, Missouri. This is Creamy Peanut Butter Ale. 5.5 alcohol by volume. This has a delicious, creamy peanut butter, smooth, run down the back of your throat drinkability with a nice, creamy, peanut buttery aromatic. Usually, I see more peanut butter beers when it comes to stouts and such, but this is a delightful ale. I would love to pair this with that Man-Child peanut butter and jelly beer that we had the other day, since that one took over more of the jelly side of things, but this is a delightful, drinkable ale that I highly recommend. 4.25 out of 5. Cheers to you guys.
Bink! What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video about plug-and-play miners. If this is your first time finding my channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, turning on the bell notification as we post content that's fun and enjoyable and exciting with cringy intros. Now, if you guys watched my last video about do-it-yourself SCP mining, all we did was an unboxing, and we promised we would give you the setup and the settings video. These devices are custom built by one of our Discord members. His name is Jused. He's getting more stock. If you want to go ahead and buy one, reach out to him on Discord. That information is in the description. The last video that we did was an unboxing. Today's video, we are actually going to go into the settings and how to access your SCP Miner to see how much space is being used, to see how much contracts you have, and so on and so forth. This isn't as simple as just plugging in your Xaminer, logging into your IP address on a web browser, and going over a nice dashboard. Since this is do-it-yourself, this is a little bit more on the technical side. You will need to be familiar with CMD if you're on Windows, or Terminal if you're on Mac. But don't worry, we will walk you through this on CMD on Windows. Now, when you get one of these devices, Jused will be sending them to you with a nice little instruction packet, which is essentially the screenshot and the instructions I'm going to be going over in today's video. So make sure if you have any questions or concerns, go back and rewatch this video a few times. Freeze it up, lock it up, that way you can see what's on screen. I recommend making sure you are fully paying attention to this, because when I initially did these settings, I was in the middle of recording and editing the last video, so I kept doing a couple of herp derps, and I'm a little embarrassed with some of the stuff I missed, so I do recommend giving it your full attention. With that said, let's just jump right over onto the PC screen so I can walk you guys through this. The first thing you're going to want to do is plug in your device, and you can do that just like so. Don't worry, guys, there's not a jump scare for this one, but we have our Ethernet cord plugged into the back of our little SCP Miner, running all the way up here to our Nighthawk modem. You can see that, or our router, you can see that right there. Very, very simple, very easy. Just plug it right in, turn it on, you're good to go. After you're all set and running, the very first thing you're going to want to do is to log into your router or modem. However you do this, if you've followed me since Helium, you kind of know how to do this already, but you want to make sure you have ports 6272, 6273, 6275, and 6276 open. Those are going to be what you need for this device, and that's good because if you have an Xaminer, completely different port, so you don't have to worry about them all bumping heads. Now, we are going to pull up on screen our instructions that we got from Jused, and we're going to go through them with you. If you're on a Windows computer, you want to pull up a CMD. If you're on a Mac, you want to pull up Terminal. No experience there, so we're going to do CMD today. Just go down to type here to search in your little startup bar and type in CMD. That's going to pull up this little beauty here. The very first thing you're going to want to type in is SSH. Mine's going to start and stop every time I hit space, so you guys are going to just have to deal with that in between these videos. But m002.duckdns.org, here comes a space, -p, here comes a space, 6276. You're going to go ahead and hit enter, and then it's going to do a couple of things. If you don't connect directly, it's going to ask you yes or no to connect into there, whatever. You're going to hit yes. If you've connected correctly, then you're going to have it ask you for your password. The default password is going to be SCP. We're going to change that here in just a moment. I already changed it, so we're not going to be typing SCP. We're going to put in our password, which is nice that you don't see, and we're going to hit enter. Now, this is going to take a moment to fire up into your device, so we're going to have a sip of our beer, and here you go. This is the title. This is the main default hosting screen that you are going to see. You can see here that we are up Tuesday, January 22nd. We have 0.09, we have 0.7% of our 1.8 terabytes being used, 13% of our memory, temperature, blah, 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 things there. And then that's kind of like the base. Now, if you want to change your password, what you're going to need to do is then type in PASSWD. It's going to then ask you to put in the current password, which is default SCP, and then you put in your password. Make it complicated and simple. I don't recommend using any symbols or letters, anything, or any like caps or like anything crazy, because you're not gonna be able to see what you're inputting unless you're really good at that. Now, if you want to access how much SCP you already have, these devices all come with 5 SCP loaded just to start helping with contracts. You're going to go ahead and type the following command, ./SCP space wallet. So we'll do that now with a nice little pause in the middle, or SPC. Again, SPC. I was typing SCP, and it's really easy to get confused because we're an SCP miner, but the command is ./SC. SP is in Paul, Charlie. So make sure you do that, because I was having those issues. We hit, then we type in wallet, and we hit enter. And of course, I did it wrong because I'm stupid. It's ./SPC wallet. Enter. So there you can see here we have 5 SCP in our wallet, and that's where your balance is going to be when you get your monthly payouts. Now, if you guys want to actually see the data and the information like you would on a dashboard, you're going to type in the following command, ./SPC space host. We're going to do that now. ./SPC space host. And we're going to hit enter, and now you can see here that we have our basic information provided. We have our provider ID, we have what DNS we're on, we have our connectivity, which would appear we are working. We have 1.85 terabytes available with 42 megabytes being used. We've got a contract that's at 5 SCP per terabyte per month with a max duration of 16 weeks. So that's what, a month, 4 divided by 4. So that's about 20 SCP for that one contract right there per terabyte. So that would be 40 terabytes per month based, or 40 terabytes per contract based on what we offer. We've got, yes, we're accepting contracts, so we're online up and running with our expected revenue of 5.1 SCP, locked collateral 3.65, and then there's more information right there at the bottom of the screen with, you know, just kind of the breakdown that we just went over. Now, what you can also do if you want to deposit SCP into this address, into this device, all you need to do is type /SPC wallet address, hit enter, and I probably screwed that up, so we'll just do that later, but it says could not generate new address, failed to get a reader response, get request error API authentication failed. It's probably something I did on my end, so we'll just work on that later. But you can also, we'll move this out of the way, you can follow these step by step and reach out to Jused if you have any errors as well. You could send SCP from your provider to another wallet, you know, Exchange or a cold wallet, with the following command, ./SPC. Did I put SCP? Probably. .SPC space wallet space send space SCPrime coins space the amount SCP space the address. You can also verify the recovery seed with that command there, and then everything else as well. Your SCP devices will come preloaded with 5 SCP tokens, so that way you can get going with the thingamabloops. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Jused, hashtag or number sign 8457. And when you get updates and stuff like that, this has been pre-built to automatically update or reboot itself when it goes down, versus I've seen some issues with my Xaminer where I have to manually reset it. But these devices, if you hear it beep, it will reboot, it will then update and fire back on. Not terribly hard to get going. You can just kind of fart around with the commands if you get them wrong like I have, and it's not really going to screw anything up. But again, Jused is available to answer any of your questions, and as I'm more used to checking in on this and getting transactions done, I will also be able to help and answer your questions as well. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video about plug and play miners. Excuse me.